When I say a equals 1, what I mean by that is that what number is in front of x squared right now? There's a 1. So what I'm talking about is if there's not a number in front of the squared term, which means that it's a 1. You can do it this way tomorrow and later this week. Make it a little bit more complicated, but for today, we're factoring like this. Here's what I need you to do today. You need to find 2 numbers. It's kind of like a puzzle. Figure out 2 numbers that do 2 things for me. The first thing they have to do is multiply to the c term being the number without a variable. They have to also add to the b term, which is the one with the x, or just the variable with no exponent. So if you look here, you see b and c. Make sure you notice that. You're going to see me do this little x thing. The top number doesn't necessarily matter, just helps you organize your thoughts. Is c. I'll put c up there. That's what you're trying to multiply by. B is what you're trying to add to. And I would like you to try and figure out what are the 2 numbers that do that. If you were even slightly present in elementary school and you learned how to multiply and add, then you can do what we're doing today. Okay. I think you're going to catch on pretty quickly. I want 2 numbers. I would write this down. 2 numbers that are multiplying, that's the time symbol, to 15, and adding to 8. What are 2 numbers that multiply to 15, and also add to 8? Think 5 and 3. Yeah. So here are the 2 numbers that you're going to use. That's not your final answer. Your final answer, you've never done this before, you need to look at the board and make sure you see how you write your final answer. It goes in 2 parentheses, like this, and we're breaking up this polynomial. We're going to write our answer as x plus 5, x plus 3. You should not ask me today if you are correct. You should know if you're correct. What could I do to check my answer? Multiply it back out. So remember we did last week? We're going to multiply here. If you want to use the box method, you can. This is how you check your work. X times 3 is 3x. Okay, so you distributed x. Now you distribute 5. If you ask me, Miss Brandt, is this right? I'm just going to ask you to do what I'm doing right now. Don't ask me. You can check it yourself. Okay, double check. If you combine like terms here, would we get what we had? Yeah. Yes. You should know if you did it right, because you can check your own work. Don't ask me. I need 2 numbers that multiply to 24 and add up to what? 11. Don't say it out loud yet. I want everyone to have a chance to think. Think about what are the 2 numbers that multiply 24 and also add up to 11. If you know, you could raise your hand. That'd be helpful. Add some. What are they? 8 and 3. Good. So your 2 numbers here. And then you take those 2 numbers and you put it in parentheses. I'm not going to use x though. What variable am I using? R plus 8. So R and positive 8. R and positive 3. Miss Brandt, am I right? Multiply it out and check it yourself. This time we are doing 2 numbers that multiply to positive 8 and add to negative 6. That's the only hard part about what we're doing today. If you're stuck, make a list of everything you can think of. So now it's y. It does not matter the order, by the way. I know that if someone will ask me that. No, you can put y minus 4 in front. or y minus 2 in front. Doesn't matter. Just make sure it goes in parentheses. Good deal. This one has a 1 in front of it. So we are doing two numbers that multiply to positive 2 and add to negative 1. You can make a list. Very careful when using this. Here's the problem that I see with this type of problem. So there's nothing that works. That's correct, so you would say prime. But on things like quizzes and tests, when stuff like this comes up, most of the time, I would say like 95% of the time, I'm going to give you questions that will work. Maybe more often than that. Each question is going to be worth like 4 points because there's lots of steps to each one. If you have a 4-point question and you're like, I don't know, I can't figure out the two numbers, and then you write down prime, do you think that's going to be an issue? If you just give up too quickly, we're going to have a problem because you just missed out on a problem that's probably going to require a lot of steps. So you need to be very slow to say this to me because most of the time it works. I don't want to see you say prime until you have written down all of the factors and checked every single one and checked it again. Because if you write down prime when it can actually be factored, you're going to lose out on some major points. Do you understand?
Yes.
Be slow to say this. Most of the time it works. Assume it works until otherwise proven. 1. Negative 2 is what you're multiplying to. Negative 4 is what you're adding to. Multiplying to the C term, adding to the B term. I need two numbers. So this one doesn't work either. But be slow to say that. Negative 36. Ooh, this is a good one. Two numbers that multiply to negative 36 and add to positive 9. Though. Okay. 12 and negative 3. If you're not sure if it should be negative 12 or negative 3, use a calculator and check it. If checking it in your head isn't working. So 12 and 3. You're using n here. Great. So that you'll notice this one is different because it's missing a term. You're missing the x. How many x's are there?
0.
There's 0. There's 1x squared. There are 0 x's. If your phone is out in your desk or in your hand, put it in your bag. You don't need it out. Thank you. So rewrite this for me. It's x squared plus 0x minus 64. That's how we rewrite it. You didn't have an x term to put a 0. I want two numbers that multiply to negative 64 and add up to what? 0. Think about it. Don't say it out loud yet. Let everybody have a chance to think. And negative 8. Good. So if you're adding to 0, you're going to have like the same number, just one positive, one negative. X plus 8, x minus 8. Don't ask me if you're right. Check it yourself. You can take out an a so that you have remaining a times a is a squared. A times negative 5 is negative 5a. This is a different way to factor. It's what you've learned before, but this is factored. You're done. So if you see two terms, it's like one of these two cases. If you want two numbers, so you're doing plus 0, it'd be two numbers that multiply to 0 and add to negative 5, which are negative 5 and 0. So another way to write this would be a plus 0 and a minus 5. It's the same thing. So if you wanted to do it that way, you can. On the last one, still doing the two number thing, two numbers that multiply to negative 4, add to negative 3. We need to figure that out. If you think you have it, if you raise your hand, that'd be great. Two numbers that multiply to negative 4, but add to negative 3. And add. What is that, Mary? 4 and negative 1. Close. I think it should be negative 4 and positive 1. Negative 4 and positive 1. On this one, because you have n squared at the end, your answer is going to be m minus 4, but you also have to put n. And it's still m plus 1, but you also have to put n because the last term is n squared.